All right, guys, for this one, for set 3, we're going to focus on stylistic terms. And I'm hoping that this is a real quick review, so I'll go through this as efficiently as possible. The first one is tone, and tone shows the attitude of a writer toward a subject or an audience. And oftentimes we hear it in our daily life if, like, maybe you're having a tough day and maybe you get a little bit sharp with somebody, and you might hear, hey, you need to watch your tone. That means whatever the sound in your voice, it's kind of coming across as being inappropriate, snotty, rude, whatever. Or it might be like you might apologize to somebody and you'd say, I'm sorry, but instead of saying I'm sorry, like a genuine tone, you say, well, I'm sorry. It doesn't come across, your tone, your words are there, but your tone is not coming across that it's genuine. Tone is generally conveyed through the choice of words or the viewpoint of a writer on a particular subject. What that basically means is when we're speaking, we can hear a tone. When a writer is writing, they're going to use other tools to get their tone across, and oftentimes that's going to come in the form of diction. Check out these. So you've got this one. I want to ask the authorities, what is the big deal? Why do not they control the epidemic? It is eating up lives like a monster. Okay, so we look at this tone, and we have words like big deal. Why do not they control the epidemic like a monster? It's got kind of a casual tone to it. It's like maybe people having a conversation in the hallway, or I don't know, or over lunch or something. Whereas opposed to this tone, same topic, same idea, but listen to this one. I want to draw the attention of the concerned authorities toward damage caused by an epidemic. If steps were not taken to curb it, it will further injure our community. Okay, even that last line, compare, it is eating up lives like a monster, to it will further injure our community. Even when I'm saying it, my tone changes, but the words, when you're reading it, the first one kind of comes off as casual, where the second one is a little bit more of an academic sense, a little bit more formal. And that's all because of the word choice, which is our next one. And the word is diction. And I use this word often in class, and I just want you to get used to it. You're going to hear it a lot in your pre-AP and AP English classes. Diction is a style of speaking or writing determined by the choice of words by a speaker or a writer. So basically, it's just word choice. Okay, it's when you choose one word or the other. And for those of you guys who are sensitive to the connotation of a word, diction will come very easily to you. Like there's a difference between saying, somebody is heavyset and somebody is plump. Heavyset has a different kind of feel to it. It might come across as just, person who has more weight than maybe the average or the national average. Plump has kind of a pleasant feel to it. Or you can have somebody who is well under the national average, and you can call that person scrawny, or you could call them thin. Now, depending on who you're talking to, scrawny, that's just word choice, but scrawny has a feel of something that's not really appealing, whereas thin in our culture might be, an appealing thing, depending on how it's used. So, what we sometimes see in writing is, like, if you see somebody who's using like ye instead of you, especially in older poetry, it has a much more formal feel, where you gives it a more comfortable feel, and that's where you're going to see that in poetry quite often. All right. So tone and diction, put those together. I just wanted to show you two real quick examples from To Kill a Mockingbird. So Jem, who's a kid, says, you can choose your friends, but you sure can't choose your family, and they're still kin to you no matter whether you acknowledge them or not, and it makes you look right silly when you don't. Okay, so you can even look at the words that he's using, the show and M, and Harper Lee, the author, has chosen to make Jem sound kind of, kind of country. Kind of got to feel like with the word show and M, and they're still kin. It has like a very country casual feel. And then you can get a different quote from their dad, Atticus, who's a lawyer, and he's very formal most of the time. And he might say something like this: they're certainly entitled to think that, and they're entitled to full respect for their opinions. But before I can live with other folks, I've got to live with myself. The one thing that doesn't abide by majority rule is a person's conscience. Now, granted, he uses the word folks, which has kind of a country feel, kind of a comfortable Southern feel, and yet at the same time, it's surrounded by words like entitled, respect, majority, abide, conscience, which are a little bit more of a formal feel. So then we can see that Atticus might contain both of those qualities, whereas Jem, because he's a kid, and he's probably hasn't gone off to school yet, well, at this point he hasn't gone off to a formal schooling, he has much more of a country feel. All right, another way an author can create their tone is through imagery. And imagery, I'm sure you have heard this one plenty of times. It means to use figurative language to represent objects, actions, and ideas in such a way that it appeals to our physical senses. Now, in order to create imagery, you have to use figurative language. And in figurative language, that's where you're getting your metaphors and similes and all your other things that you've learned throughout the years about poetry, oxymorons, alliteration. So all of those together create imagery. So, some real quick examples. It was dark and dim in the forest. So that's going to probably appeal. The words dark and dim are visual images, so that's where your imagery is there. The children were screaming and shouting in the fields. Also imagery, even though it's not an image, it appeals to the senses. And so that appeals to our hearing, our auditory sense. He whiffed the aroma of brewed coffee. So that's your smelling sense, your olfactory. And the girl ran her hands on a soft satin fabric. Again, now notice the diction that this author is using to create a touch or a tactile sense. The fresh and juicy orange was is very cold and sweet. And so those are going to give you your sense of taste. So now notice that all of those, they have to use diction in order to create the imagery and put those together, and then you're going to get your tone. So just kind of know that these are all kind of hand in hand, these three terms, and we'll be using those quite often. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and I can see if I can help you out.